Alright, so just got into the office and turned on my cubicle lights. I'm gonna get signed into my ticket queue and see what I gotta do today. Alright, so not that many tickets this morning, just some extensions. I've got a PowerShell script that I use for those extensions that I just like paste in the employee ID number and it extends it by 90 days, so kind of does that for me. Wish that would be automated, but whatever. It's an easy ticket, gets my numbers up. And then I have an Outlook issue from yesterday too. And then a SharePoint one. Don't know really what that's about. I've got a lot of Lenovo Vantage issues with our engineering laptops. Those have been blue screening all over the place, so made a couple tickets for our desktop engineering team to look at that, but obviously some of them still come back on me since I like to get my hands in everything. It's like, oh, I'll help out with that, but it just adds more stress to me, but I work well under pressure. And then I've also got this one where the user has a 120 gigabyte C drive. A 120 gigabyte Microsoft folder. And they have a 128 gigabyte SSD, I believe, so there's something going on there. And they can't even use Excel because I think the swap file doesn't have enough room. So that's great. We'll get working on that this morning. Got a few Teams messages I have to deal with too. Alright guys, it is 1:32 p.m. now, so it's a bit of time in between when I last checked in. I had a lot of stuff go on this morning. I thought it was going to be a slow morning, but then things started to pick up around 11 p.m. So I fixed that user's Outlook issues with classic Outlook. So what I had to do was just reset the profile, which it's kind of an archaic type of system, but you go into settings, it's in control panel actually, and then you essentially just have them re-log in, and then it asks which Outlook profile do you want to use, and then you click the new one that you just made, and it had all of his emails pop up magically. So fixed that pretty easily. It was a bit of troubleshooting. What's weird though was new Outlook was working just fine, which I don't really care if I use old Outlook or new Outlook. To me, they work the same. And then let's see, what else did I do today? Oh yeah, I'm working on this P1 laptop issue a lot. One of the people in the desktop engineering team actually reached out to me and said, I'm not in the office today. Why don't you take the P1 laptop that's on my desk? It's a Gen 6, so it's the one we're having issues with. Why don't you take that, run through every single Vantage driver update there is, and see which one breaks it? And I indeed found which one broke it. And let's see, which one was it? Yeah, it was called Intel TXT Authenticated Code Module for Windows. So that big long name, that is the driver that is breaking all of our P1 engineering laptops, specifically the Gen 6s. So I've got that for them. Hopefully they're able to talk with Lenovo, and then in the meantime put out a block for Vantage so that users cannot install that driver update. Typically users aren't allowed, they don't have the admin credentials to install driver updates, but we do have a contractor that we use that sometimes installs those updates, so that's not good. We need to make sure that, number one, they're aware of it, and number two, that they can't install it. So it's blocked. And then I've also had to re-image a laptop. I gave that to my supervisor to take it over to one of our manufacturing plants. And then I'm imaging another one right now. They're all Pixie boots for imaging. They do our provisioning process and everything by themselves, so you just gotta let it run. It sometimes takes 30 minutes, sometimes takes 3 hours. You don't really know. But yeah, I've already sent, like I said, sent one out with my supervisor. I've got this one that has to go to a user in California. All right, so I just shipped out that user their new replacement laptop. We're doing it FedEx overnight delivery, so it'll be there tomorrow for them. I included a new docking station power supply too, just in case that was the issue, because they said that that was an issue for them as well. If that's the case, there's a return label in there. They can just return the new laptop and use their new power supply on their docking station. And then I've given all of these laptops to e-waste by another coworker. So we have a inventory system. I mark them as retired, disposed, so that they don't ask where it went. And then there is a financial e-waste sheet that I have to fill out and say what department it was in, and that it's going to e-waste so that they can get that credit back. And then remove it from Active Directory, because I can do that, but I can't remove them from Intro or Azure. So they just look at that financial sheet, they look at the serial numbers that I've disposed of, and then our desktop support team, our higher level people, desktop engineering team, goes through and disposes those serial numbers for me. They remove them from Azure or Intro, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go put these in the e-waste box so they can send to our recycler and get crushed or whatever they do to them. Alright, stopped in the mini market to get me a Dr. Pepper. It's just so dead in here on Fridays, I'm telling you, because everybody gets to remote work except for IT and a few other departments. So I'm like the only person here, but I like that. That's fine with me. Got my Dr. Pepper. Like games and stuff here too. I forgot to mention, I also helped that user with that SharePoint issue just now. It had actually fixed itself, so my theory, because the issue was that they went to the SharePoint site, they clicked into the folders, but the image wouldn't open up an edge. So my theory is that it was a cache issue, and it just sort of fixed itself when they restarted the computer or something. So I really quickly showed them how to clear that cache, and then they were also having another issue with Classic Outlook. So I just did the same thing I did earlier today on their computer, and it started to download all of their mail, so got that fixed. Bad thing was, that issue was one of my P3 issues with it, which is moderate, and I have a pretty strict deadline of when I need to get this done, and if I don't, I breach our service level agreement, or SLA. So I was about 60% on my SLA with that one. So if that would have gone over, and the issue wouldn't have been there anymore, like if I would have accidentally gone over to 100% service level agreement breach, and then I remoted in and it was just fixed, I would have been really upset. But luckily we didn't get there. It was only about 60% to its breach point, so good with that. I'm just glad it didn't happen. I breached SLA one time, and I wound up just canceling the ticket because the user was like, I don't even need this, I don't care about this. And I was like, dude, I breached my service level agreement for you, and you don't even want me to fix this. It's whatever. So, yep, about to wrap up the day here in a little bit. All right, I think that's about it for the day. I've done everything, and I need to leave early. It's 3:22 right now. I'm gonna leave at 3:30 so that I can not go into overtime. I want to stay at 40 hours, and I've stayed late and came in early a few days, so leaving an hour and a half early, so can make up for that. Be all good.